part of the role of a strength and conditioning coach or head of performance, or the idea of, let's say, joint dynamics? We have physios, osteos, psychology, and the gym. So personal trainers, movement coaches. So we play with people's energy, you know what I mean? Like, it's energy management. And essentially that's one of the principles of what we do, isn't it? That's called periodization as far as we're concerned. So you and people here at Joint Dynamics we're periodizing, we're managing people's energy, either to get them out of pain or to make them perform better. And to do that, we have to stress them and allow recovery. And it sort of seems that if we didn't do that to ourselves, then we're not walking our talk as best as we could. It was one of the realizations I had just as you were talking about that. And obviously you've done a good job with that. So it's sort of inherent to what we do, really, isn't it? It's
Absolutely. I think there's probably a number of professionals in different industries around the world that that do a great job of giving advice and not taking it, and we're probably one of those. But it's always an interesting one when you look at that. We help others. We want to be doing the right amount of the right things at the right time with the right people, and you say avoiding doing too much, avoiding doing too little, getting the balance right, not doing the right thing at the wrong time, or it's a really careful sort of a balance. But we often don't look in the mirror and apply the same thing. Or how many coaches have coaches? Not many.
That's a great point. Do you?
It's a no. I think we probably seek out mentors, or it's sort of ingrained in us to listen to podcasts, read books, absorb information, apply the information, self-review, and so it's something that we probably don't do enough of. Is coaches having coaches, and I know there's some really good. I've sort of seen some things roll through on LinkedIn where that's becoming an area that people are shifting into, which is great, because who's coaching the coaches, who's looking after the coaches? We have a high performance arena where we have welfare managers and personal and professional development managers for players to make sure they learn about finance or cooking, or how to manage your energy, how to become a parent, and all the different off-field things, and part of growing as a person. Because often high performance, you rip them out of real life to put them into an academy or a high performance environment where they don't get those learnings, and then we often wonder why they haven't learnt those things. Like, why hasn't this kid learnt to cook? Well, because why hasn't he learnt to wake up at 6 a.m. and make his lunch before the day of training? Because we pulled him out of the opportunity to be a student or go on a building site and learn real life the real way. And then we wonder why they have these expectations, or they don't have these skill sets, because we've sort of sometimes taken away those opportunities. So it's always an interesting sort of a dynamic. Like, we don't have those type of support structures for coaches, physios, S&C coaches, like analysts, all of the performance staff. We don't put performance support structures around performance support staff. We expect them to do it themselves. So it's interesting.
So do you, just so how we got connected through Davey Gray and Richard Swinburne, do you ever, sometimes they say Davey, who's a world-class head of performance strength conditioning coach as well, studying some fascinating stuff. Do you ever call up Davey or Nick Gilly? How you doing? It's Tomo here. Or do you ever get on the, let's call it the blower, get on the phone with them? Is there a circle of your mates or a mentor that you have that you sometimes call up and say, whoa, I'm struggling here, or what are your thoughts, or what did you do in this example?
It's probably something that we do a lot more of in the professional skill set sort of capacity. As you sort of sit down, you're able to sit down, have a coffee and chat through, or you go to a conference and you connect and chat through programming detail, or how do you approach this, or how did you periodize that, or how do you go about travel from the West Coast to the East Coast, or all the we get straight to the toolbox and the detail and some of that sort of nitty gritty. And if you chat to some of the people who've been in the game for a long time, Ashley Jones is one for me that I like. When I was studying, Ash was the strength and conditioning coach for the Crusaders in Canterbury, and I sort of went down and observed him in his role in my first year of study to see whether it was something that I wanted to do or not. And so we're good friends and colleagues now, and he's always been a mentor for me. And we got to cross paths. We were in the US at the same time, and quite often if I sit down and chat to Ash now, like when I was first starting, I would send him my programs to get feedback on programming.
Awesome.
And then now we sort of sit down. It's more of a chat about life and like, are you still motivated to do what you do? And how do you feel about carrying on in this sort of game? And how do we give back and grow others, and a lot of different things. Just how do you cope with the demands of the performance support member lifestyle as it is? And I know Ash sort of went through his periods of being over it and wanting to retire, and then sort of retiring and then getting bored and jumping back into it. and
Did you drive that truck, mate?
And so I haven't found a truck to drive yet, but it'd be nice to do in the off season. But
what's Ashley doing now? What's he doing?
So Ash, he had a bit of time off. Now I think he's found a really good balance now. He's leading so he's back at his spiritual home, Crusaders, and he's living in Christchurch, and he and his wife Donna and their little dog Nessie, and he's living there. He's leading the Crusaders have an international academy, and so it's a user pays academy of international sort of rugby players that either their club sends them there to develop and grow as a player, or they pay to go and be a part of this 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 6 month process of being in and around the Crusader environment and training to be a better rugby player. And so Ash leads that the performance and strength and conditioning for that group. And
that must be fun.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a great little playground for him in terms of programming, because it's not a team that has to win or lose every week, so you don't have to worry about impacting Saturday's performance. So you're just working on helping make individuals better in their journey, and he gets to do what he loves and coach. But then that's sort of outside the stresses of a team campaign, and it doesn't have the amount of travel. It means he can go across and present in Japan or pick other things up. So I think in chatting to him, like, it's a really nice role where Ash has got a really good balance at the moment, I think, of being able to do what he loves but not be pulled in all directions by it. So he's always great to have a coffee and chat to, or just exchange a couple of messages. And well, there's a lot of different practitioners I've been really lucky to be alongside or come across sort of along the way. And so you often, if you get a chance to catch up, I'd say now, the ones that I've been involved with the longest, we talk the least shop and more life.
Cool.
And those that you meet that are a bit newer, you talk a bit more shop. And so it's sort of an interesting kind of a spectrum, but it seems to work out that way. I guess the longer you know people, the more you get to know them as a person, so you talk more as people.
And then do you also think that, with maturity and with experience, you realize that life affects shop as well, and maybe you go for those, I don't know if I should call it deeper, more meaningful conversations, more investigative questions, because you realize that if Andrew can maintain his meaning, purpose, love of what he's doing, and he's in a good place, then he's going to be better at that, as opposed to those conversations. Tell me about your periodization. So what are you doing for the pre-competition season? Where are you at with your loading schemes and stuff like that? Maybe that's a realization that comes with experience, do you think?
Yeah, and I think I guess with more experience, you kind of learn that a lot of whether it's your periodization, your loading scheme, whatever it is, and your programming is quite often like you draw it out of what's needed where you are anyway. And so unless if you're building foundations somewhere, you get the best out of basics, and then you start to tailor it a little bit more to specific needs. But it can be, you can chat to somebody all day about how they plan and schedule their season, but that is uniquely designed to their season. And so it's not, there's some concepts in there and things that underpin how they go about it. So you probably get more to the process of how did you think about how you would attack this season now that it's different in this way, and the thought process in behind that is kind of where a lot of the gold is, rather than this is exactly how we periodize, and this is when we do more, and this is when we do less, and this is how. You can't copy paste that onto someone else's season because they've got a different schedule. So there's probably that next layer of digging into the thought processes behind it, and then digging into where did you get the energy from to do all of that? Because it's, because you've got to love it to want to really do it to the deepest level of detail, and you've really got to have a passion and care for it. So otherwise, you can just probably phone it in and do okay, but if doing okay isn't good enough for you, then you've got to care about it a lot more deeply.
Won't get you to where you're at, mate. That's for sure. Doing okay. Hey,
It might, but it might not stay there long.
Yeah. Hang on a minute.